Alright, here's the back of the pickup truck with the bed off. As you can see, I've taken some old bed frame and made battery boxes and a race fuel cell mount to mount onto the frame directly. 2 batteries and a 3-gallon race cell. And I use all thread down here on the bottom to secure the bed frame to the frame itself. It's got a Holley inline electric fuel pump. I know it's kind of dark in here, but it's the best I can do today. It's kind of bad weather-wise outside. On the leaf springs, here's where they mount on top of the axle. If you look, I got some clamps on the back of the springs to clamp the springs down, and that helps when you launch. The springs don't come apart. There's less travel in the suspension, so you get harder launches with it. And right up underneath here, you see there's only 3 springs left. And typically what you find in a spring pack like this is about 6 springs total. And I've cut 3 of them out. I've taken them out. You just drop the U-bolts out, and there's a retaining bolt in the middle of the spring pack there. I'll show it to you. Right there in the middle. Now this is typical for a Ford, but I don't know what yours will be held on with. The center bolt right here in the middle holds all your springs together. When you take this bolt out, you can take some of the springs out of the pack and then put your top plate back on and clamp the springs together with that bolt, and then put your U-bolts in it. And that'll drop your rear end, lighten your suspension, and it'll take a lot of weight off with that many heavy leaf springs out from under it. Now the rest of this is pretty much custom built. This ladder bar setup is all built out of 1/8 inch steel plate. I made a template myself, cut everything to match, and welded it to the axle. This took a lot of time to get the angles correct from side to side. And right down here in the back, you can see this piece of angle iron between the plates. I welded these plates together with this angle iron, and I welded it to the pumpkin here in the middle, and I welded it to this side over here. With the rear end and the suspension dropped this much, the original shocks were actually mounted on the bottom of the 9-inch rear end housing. As you can see how much drop I've put into the suspension. I've had to relocate the shocks down here on the angle iron to compensate for the amount of drop in the suspension. Another way I help drop the rear suspension is by the rear leaf spring hangers. Right here is the rear leaf spring, and this is the rear leaf spring hanger. As you can see, I've added 7 inches of channel iron to the leaf spring hanger myself. Yes, they're Gorilla welds, but they've held up on a drag strip for 5 years now with no problems. Now on your typical truck bed, as you can see, if you had this much drop, you'd have to come in and cut a big hole in the back of your bed for the springs to come up through the bed with this much drop on the hangers. I've seen people do it in old Ford trucks that have metal fleet side beds. They just cut holes in the top of the bed so when the truck launches and the spring can come up through the back of the bed.